back, everybody. It is the Working Brother back at you with another talk. Yet again, we've got Drago Bosnic. Drago, welcome back. How are you doing?
I'm great, man. Always great being here.
Excellent. Good to have you back. For people who follow the regular uploads, it's been only like, what, a week? But it's actually been like almost a month since we actually recorded last.
Yep.
We've got our not-so-weekly news update. Maybe two of them again, because we've been so regular. You've been writing jokes. For people who don't know, Drago is a military and political analyst who writes for Infobricks, among other places. He is from Serbia, and he likes coming on here to tell jokes, because this is a comedy show, and nothing we say here has anything to do with reality.
He forgot to say I'm a bad comedian, so that's pretty much it.
Shall we start off with a joke? I was on the
Sure.
Twitter. I was on the Twitter, also known as X. Came across this thing. NATO. This war has given us so many things. This special military operation, I mean. In any case, let's get to some of the serious jokes we've got lined up here. These come in no particular order, although they are kind of chronologically based in history.
Yeah.
Poles are cowards for not going to war with Russia, says Zelensky.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, this is already old news at this point, but I mean, it's not old for Zelensky, obviously, because he still thinks it. Because he actually said a few times that the Poles are cowards because they're not shooting down Russian missiles, that are flying close to the Polish border. And I've been thinking it's not that they don't want to. I mean, the Poles are not fans of Russia, to put it mildly. So they would certainly shoot down these missiles if they had any means to do it. But the point is they don't, But they will say that, we're not doing it because we don't want escalation, and then they will fire missiles into Russia. So,
he doesn't actually mean war. Like the title is basically a little hyperbolic, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but the point is, like, they would go to war with Russia if they did what Zelensky is asking, and he's calling them cowards because they don't want to do it, or they can't really do it.
Well, actually, that's a good. We're gonna be discussing lots of fast-moving things today. Falling trees. Rods from God, all kinds of weird names, but
falling nuts for the fans of nuts. So
yeah, there you go, nuts for the fans of nuts. Holy shit, I didn't even think of that one. That's beautiful. That's perfect. I wonder if Putin also thought of that one. This Oresnik name. Where's that? Where's the scariest Russian word? I have a meme somewhere here. New scary word. The scariest Russian word. Oresnik. Do you want to tell us about Oresnik, Drago?
Yeah, I mean, I have an article about that, but we can mention it here. There's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of things, that we got in terms of information about what system it is, but none of it is 100% confirmed. However, I did some research, and I also wrote about Rubej that was apparently launched on April 12th earlier this year. So the Russians at that time, they tested what was called an unnamed ICBM. So the whole point is this thing was really launched at that day, but nobody said what it was. However, based on the looks of it, based on the way that it maneuvers while flying and its range, I just presumed it's the RS-26 Rubej. And I could go into details to explain. Technically, it is an ICBM, but for all intents and purposes, it's an IRBM, or intermediate range ballistic missile. So what I really think Oresnik is, it's actually a variant of the Rubej. It's just armed with a conventional payload. Like obviously there's no nukes in this case, otherwise we'd know about it. Well, because there would be no Dnepropetrovsk left. So the whole point is this this missile was like it was installed with these hypersonic HGVs, probably, which is a hypersonic glide vehicle. And their primary purpose.
Before you go any further, I was having a discussion with another guest earlier, and I was trying to get him to. This is off camera. Trying to get him to understand that it's important to distinguish between hypersonic and supersonic, especially when talking about the ability to intercept these projectiles ballistically in the air, and what is possible and is not possible. And could you, like, for people who have no idea, let's say about like rockets and all these kind of stuff, missiles.
Yeah, I will explain. So first of all, we have three main categories. There's a lot more, but I'm going to stick it to those three main. There's subsonic.
Okay, yeah. I thought you were going to go into the ranges. Go
no,
with the
I'm not
speeds.
going to go into the ranges.
And then
the
ranges.
ranges are completely, the ranges are completely irrelevant in this case. We're just talking about speed. There's the subsonic, which is below Mach 1. That's just one speed, like Mach 1 equals one speed of sound. And then after Mach 1, you have supersonic. Everything that goes between Mach 1 and Mach 5 is classified as supersonic. After Mach 5, which is around 7,000 to 7,500 kilometers per hour, depending on the altitude of the object that's flying. Everything that's beyond that is hypersonic. So if it's Mach 5 and above, it's classified as hypersonic. Now, I just want to make a difference. I just want to make sure that people understand the difference. Most ballistic missiles fly at hypersonic speeds, but there's an important distinction. Hypersonic weapons are not just they don't just go at hypersonic speeds. They also maneuver while flying at hypersonic speeds. So a ballistic missile, in most cases, cannot be classified as a modern hypersonic weapon because it doesn't maneuver. However, the Russians have developed at least 24 weapons that can maneuver and fly at hypersonic speeds. So those are real or true hypersonic weapons, because not all of them are missiles. There are also things that are called hypersonic glide vehicles, which are unpowered. So what you do is you put them on a rocket. The rocket propels the HGV into the atmosphere, and then it starts flying. And it can fly just by using its aerodynamic properties. It can fly at speeds of Mach 5 and above. And of course,
like Russian propaganda, man. This is Russian propaganda. We all know that they use washing machines, man.
Exactly. And that's how avant-garde works, like a charm, because it uses parts from Japanese washing machines and I guess microchips from old German cars or whatever the Russians are getting. I mean, like, that's the simplest I can explain it. I could go into details, but it's going to take an hour, to explain the real differences and all the other things.
So the bottom line is it's not hypersonic unless it can maneuver at speeds above
Mach 5. Yeah.
And like as far as intercepting, THAAD and all those high altitude interceptors, not the Russian ones, like the Westoid ones.
Well, first of all, when we talk about missile defense, the most advanced types of missile defense are the so-called ABM systems, or anti-ballistic missile systems. So these are the most advanced because prior to, let's say, the last 30 years, ballistic missiles were considered unstoppable. So what the U.S. tried to do, because the Russians have always had a massive advantage in these ballistic systems and missiles, the U.S. invested a lot of money into ABM systems. So they managed to make the Patriot, they managed to make the THAAD, they managed to make the GBMD, a it's ground-based mid-course defense, which is like a defensive system against ICBMs. ICBMs are intercontinental ballistic missiles. So the point is, the Americans have invested like 30 or 40 or maybe 50 years into trying to figure out how to shoot down a ballistic missile. So the whole point of trying to shoot it down is to be able to calculate the flight path. And you can do it because a ballistic missile has this predictable flight path. It's like if you throw a rock and you like put if you take a computer to make a simulation of how the rock is going to fall, in most cases, like in 99% of the cases, it can predict where it's going to fall because it can calculate how the ballistics of it are going to work. So that's how the ABM systems work. However, if you have a hypersonic weapon, which means it goes with hypersonic speeds and maneuvers, your calculations are off. The moment you calculate where it's going to fall, the next moment is going to change its course, and then your calculations are worth nothing. That's why hypersonic weapons are essentially unstoppable, which is why I always laugh when the Kiev regime says, oh, we shot down, 1 or 6 or 12 or 50 of these Kinzhals, and then they present some idiotic thing as evidence of this. And then, of course, the Western press goes crazy and says, that the Russian missiles are bullshit and so on and so on. And then you have Israel, which is not capable of stopping Iranian 1970s era ballistic missiles. I mean, it's a Soviet 1970s tech, essentially. The ballistic missiles that Iran has, minus the hypersonic ones that they are now using. So
did they use a hypersonic one against Israel, and was it using a glide vehicle? I was going to interject earlier, but I didn't want to jump in again.
Yeah, as far as I know, Fateh, it actually uses a hypersonic glide vehicle or some sort of MARV warhead. MARV means maneuverable reentry vehicle. So it looks like an HGV, which is a hypersonic glide vehicle, but it also looks like a regular MARV that has been in service since the 1970s and 80s. Now, I don't want to say that the Iranians don't have the tech. They could have the tech. I don't know how they got it, but the point is, we know that only like 3 countries have HGVs, like proven 100%. That's Russia, China, and the US, and the US can't even make them work properly. So if the Iranians have them, I don't know how they acquired them. I don't know if they had some help. I don't know if it's a real HGV or just a MARV. But it's definitely maneuverable and hypersonic, regardless of what kind of tech they're using. So that's why it's nearly impossible to intercept. And I think, the more of them they have, the harder it is going to be for Israel to even win any sort of war with Iran, unless they go nuclear. So, but that's another story.
Even if they do, I don't think that'll solve any of their problems.
Oh, yeah. It's going to make it worse a lot. So,
considering we're discussing all these things that happened, including Iran, I thought it was appropriate to flash this up. I found it somewhere on Telegram, where it was a screenshot of somebody from the X. But yeah, formal apology from the Nothing Ever Happens crowd. We've got more articles. We've got a lot of articles. I don't know if we'll get to many of them. We're on the second one, and we're already 13 minutes in. We're keeping the tempo as people are accustomed to. Let's put it that way. U.S. again exempts Russian banks from sanctions to buy vital commodities. Yeah, sanctions are working.
Yeah, sanctions are working, and the U.S. is respecting all of them. There's actually a list, because this is based on a document that was actually on the U.S. government's website. There's a link, you can find it. So if people think this is just if this is just Russian comedy, just check it out, and you'll see that it's there's also a lot of American comedy there. And it really is funny because, the U.S. is imposing sanctions on other countries who are trying to buy these non-essential Russian commodities, and then the U.S. gets upset, But at the same time, they're also quietly removing sanctions or giving sanctions waivers for Russian companies and banks that are enabling them to buy these things. I think the good troll would be for the Russians not to sell these things at all. They could just say, "Oh, thank you for lifting sanctions. We're going to sell this. We sold already to 20 other clients because you lifted the sanctions, but we're not going to sell it to you." So I think that would be a nice thing to do.
It would be the Medvedev move. Let's put it that way.
Pretty much.
I was giggling as I was looking at your next article. I decided to share this. I had this queued. Serbs, the moment anyone talks about the F-17, F-117. Yeah, it's funny because it's true.
Pretty much.
So your next article, the desperate attempts of slandering the Su-57 won't change its battlefield performance. Drago, do you want to tell us about, well, the T-50, first of all, what we saw in the Zhuhai Air Show? And then do you want to tell us also about how it's made of rivets and how it wasn't in Ukraine?
The Russians really don't have the damn technology, man. You know, they live in the 19th century, and you know it's all just models of tech. They don't really have it. I mean, jokes aside, there were two models that were sent to China. It's the T-54 blue, and there was the T-50-07, which is used as like a mock-up of the Su-57E, which is the export variant. There's also a lot of news that this is older news that I wrote, but recently, I mean today, I found out that Algeria is probably getting the Su-57E, which E stands for export. So it is, you know, a toned down version of the Su-57 that the Russians are using, but still, it's quite a capable aircraft. So the point is, what caught the attention of all these who really want to slander Russian tech was the T-50 prototype that was used for flight testing. And of course, you know, the legendary Sukhoi pilot, test pilot Sergei Bogdan, he flew in from Russia, and he flew in like in a shirt. You know, he didn't even use the like anti-G suit that you would usually, like normal pilots, you know, that use. He didn't even use that, and then he went on to make all these crazy maneuvers with it and so on, and people of course were amazed. However, when it was on the tarmac.
Time out. He was flying. I just had my headphones turned off and turned back on again. But we'll pretend that didn't happen, and we'll continue talking about how you said what now, that he went to fly without the G suit.
Yeah. Like he didn't even use the G suit. He went out of the airplane. You know, when they were filming him when he was coming in, when he touched down. He just got out with a freaking shirt on, you know, like he didn't actually have an anti-G suit like you would have with most other pilots. But you know, then again, Sergei Bogdan is Sergei Bogdan. He's pretty much a superhero in aviation, so I guess this is nothing out of the ordinary for him. Once again, when he touched down, there were these you know, journalists and, you know, regular people who just took a lot of pictures. And then they saw these rivets and, you know, the finish of the airplane that wasn't very good. And then they started a speculation that, you know, it has shitty stealth capabilities and, you know, the Russians can make airplanes and so on and so on. However, they forgot the fact that this was one of the early prototypes that was supposed to test, you know, flight characteristics and these other things. And when you test those things, you don't really need, you know, very good finish for the aircraft. What you need is just to make sure that the internal systems are working, you know, as they should. Unlike on the F-35, for example, which looks nice on the outside, but it's a pretty shitty jet on the inside. So, you know, the point is, like, they try to exploit this and say that this is the image of every Su-57 in service. And then, of course, I also posted the pictures of the Su-57s in service compared to the T-54 prototype. So people can see a very, very, you know, clear difference, because the finish on the serial aircraft is a lot better because it's based on other prototypes that were testing the stealth. So, you know, like, if you make 15 prototype jets to make sure that everything works when you put them all together, you know, obviously some of them will have deficiencies in things that they are not testing them out for. So, you know, it's just a ridiculous attempt to slander the Su-57, but of course that's failing, and we see that in Ukraine every single day because they're being used quite often, and the Ukrainians are pretty pissed because they can't even see the damn things, as we saw during the incident with the S-70 Hotnik drone when the Russians were flying over Ukrainian airspace unopposed. So I guess good luck, trying to find the Su-57.
I was doing something that I haven't done before, and I found this video on Telegram when we're watching this live from Telegram. As in, like, it's not downloaded. I remembered that this video came out. So this is the shitty Russian plane that you were talking about, where the guy was basically flying it in his slippers, is what you're saying.
Pretty much. You can see how shitty its maneuvers are. You know, like every other Western jet can do that. I mean, the F-35 especially.
It looks like nothing special.
Yeah,
I've seen video games that do this and better.
Yeah,
especially when like the internet is bad. Like that's when you get moves like this. Okay, I think that was enough of that. My attempt at humor. Anyway. Oh, good. I remember to unmute these other things. Neo-Nazi fans of nuts. Already hopeless situation takes a dramatic turn for the worse. No.
Yeah, I wrote this after Trump won because one of the first things that Trump and his supporters did was they said, "Oh, it's over for the warmongers," and then of course I also mixed it in with some reports from the front line because the Kiev regime forces are not doing very well, which is why they started, firing all these long-range Western-sourced weapons at the Russians. Because I mean, if you're winning, obviously you're going to do that, right? The interesting thing, of course, is we don't really know if Trump is going to do anything. We don't know if Trump is going to be the peacemaker as he claims to be, but at least we can hope. With the Biden administration, the situation is pretty much hopeless because, and I think most of us who are dealing with this situation, we know that the U.S. is going to try to escalate things, in the next 2 months. To the breaking point, essentially, to ensure that Trump inherits some sort of a war at least. And for example, for tomorrow, I'm writing an article about Venezuela and how the U.S. has now proclaimed one of the opposition candidates to be the president, even though the guy lost the election and then moved to Spain. I guess even he doesn't have any choice in this, matter. They just proclaim him the president, and that's what he is in the eyes of the U.S. So they really are desperate to start at least one war in the next 2 months so that Trump can inherit it, and then they can continue to cash in because Trump would not be able to stop it the moment that he takes the presidency. So.
Yeah, when you wrote this article, maybe, but like as of today, what is the 25th of November? There was some news of some guy who's supposed to be his, like, I don't know, foreign policy chief or like something. I can't remember. I can find it while we discuss something else later. I'll try. But he basically said that, long-range strikes into Russia could be okay if they were justified the right way. I'll find the right quote and we'll get to that. In the meantime, just so people don't think we're racist and we only have like Slavic memes, we've got Arab memes too. This is a Hezbollah approved meme. All right. No, we'll do that one later. Let's do this old stale news. DNC whines while ignoring its 20 million debt scandal. Did Trump really offer to pay it?
Yeah, he did. Of course, that was trolling because they saved like $50 million in the campaign. I think it was like they had 370 million like plus, and they spent like 310 or 20, something like that. And then you had the Democrats who wasted like 1.1 billion on ads and these celebrity concerts and stuff. And they had another billion that they spent, and then they also, they spent more than they had essentially. So they're 20 million in debt, and instead of like dealing with this, they're crying Russia, and it seems Russia elected Donald Trump once again. Those evil Russians, you can't really trust them, especially with Facebook ads, because what else is going to determine the election?
Unless I thought Putin supported Kamala.
Yeah, I thought so too, but that was his ruse. That was his attempt to trick the Americans into thinking that he doesn't support Trump. Evil tyrant, man. You know how they are.
You think the Americans actually got it? Can we do a Serbian feminist meme?
Sure, let's do it.
Serbian feminists when they see violence against women in Kosovo and Metohija.
Oh yeah, we should say that the guy in the picture is a blind Serbian singer, so that should cover the meaning of why this guy is on the picture. So
I thought that was clear by his glasses, but then I looked at myself on screen, and then I was like, oh yeah, maybe that's not clear by the glasses.
Yeah, and as we know, you aren't exactly blind. Luckily, so.
Not exactly. It's not defined that way. Anyway, let's get back to Google inadvertently reveals Kiev's secret regime station operating from Poland. What?
Yep, they had these jets, especially transport aircraft, that are operating from Poland, and it seems, there's some reports that they're trying to get them to fly into Ukraine, but of course the Russian jets and air defense systems are a problem. However, they are being used to fly, to the U.S., to the U.K., and these other NATO countries that are sending weapons to the Kiev regime. So, yeah, I mean, I think Google made a very nice move towards Russia because they got all these penalties from Russian courts, like more money than there was ever in the human history, I guess. And then they had to make amends somehow, so they probably sent the Russians, coordinates of these jets to tell them, okay, let's forget about this debt thing. Just here you go, take the coordinates and then use the falling nuts to take out the Nazi
you really think
aircraft.
You really think it was because of that debt? Because of that, bajillion dollars?
Of course, I'm joking in that regard. It's just that I didn't know how else to explain it because what else would they, show that to the Russians or anyone for that matter.
Interesting. That's all I can say. I've got a meme here. Also, Dobro jutro zemlja moja. I believe that's also a Serbian meme page. Could be Bosnian, as in from Republika Srpska. But in any case, down on the bottom right, you've got Euromaidan in Ukraine 11 years ago. And top left, you've got Russia in Ukraine testing the new rocket, Oresnik. That's basically how it happened. I want to remind everybody that this channel is not eligible for monetization. Thank everybody who's a patron. And everybody who's bought me a coffee. Look, only a few people bought me a coffee, so I got a small coffee today. If you buy me coffees, I might pull the money out someday. Also, speaking of Putin and the Oresnik, just Putin and chill. That's all there is to it.
I just want to say one thing regarding the Mach 10 speed. I think that's not a very good way to explain the speed of this thing because the Rubej has a speed of around 20 to 25, Mach 20 to 25. So it doesn't make sense for me that Oresnik has a Mach 10 speed. So what I think actually happened in this case is that the submunitions might actually be Mach 10, but the missile itself is Mach 20 plus. So, that's the only explanation for the Mach 10 speed that we are. So, the numbers that are usually listed, I mean, the time needed to reach the cities like London and Berlin and, Paris, they're much less than what we were told because it's not like a continuous Mach 10 speed for the submunitions because the actual speed for the missile that's carrying those submunitions, it's a lot faster. It's Mach 10 to Mach 25. And then when it gets over an area, then it releases these submunitions, which are probably, which go down to Mach 10 because they have to go through the lower atmosphere, which, yeah.
So basically, the speed of 10 is the entry speed or the speed on target. Terminal speed.
The re-entry. the re-entry speed, which I suppose, if it's Mach 10, if the Russians are now downplaying the actual speed, which could be much higher than Mach 10, because Mach 10 is nothing special for the Russians. They have the Avangard, which is Mach 28. They have the Zircon, which is Mach 9. They have the Kinjal, which is Mach 12, maximum Mach 12, as far as I know. So, you know, it's not a big deal for the Russians. Like Mach 10 is for them is like a regular stuff.
We've got Tsipiripi's revenge, also known as the vengeance of that squirrel that was killed. I don't know what that was. Was that some?
Yeah, that was
something fall. All right.
Yeah, something fell. Doesn't matter.
All right. As long as everything's still in one piece. Right now, top NATO officer just made the perfect case for everyone to acquire nukes. I want my nukes now.
Yeah,
I think everyone should be armed with nukes. If everyone had nukes, it would be safer. Like with guns.
You know, that's not even a joke. Like seriously, the world would be safer if most of us had nukes. Now, before people start calling me crazy because I said that, there's you know what?
No.
What is
subscribers? Time out. Subscribers here know that we are pro-gun, pro-war, and pro-nuke.
Yeah, pretty much. So that makes us crazy, right? But actually, when you think about it, it will make the world a lot more peaceful, at least until the nukes start flying, in which case we're all dead, right? But I think this is what should be the deterrent, right? And this is something that I wrote because of the statement by Rob Bauer, which is who's the Dutch admiral and one of the top NATO officers. And he said that, I mean, what he said, you know, we can question his NATO's ability to defeat Russia in a conventional war. But he's essentially said that they can win against Russia conventionally, but they can't do it because Russia has nukes, right? And he said that if Russia didn't have nukes, they would be in Ukraine, and you know they would defeat Russia. So he pretty much admitted that they would attack Russia if Russia didn't have nukes that would, you know, obliterate NATO many times over, considering the number of nukes. So, you know, it's very interesting. It's a very interesting statement, and it shows why countries like North Korea are getting nukes. It shows why countries like Iran are trying to get nukes. Because how else are you going to, you know, defend yourself against these lunatics unless you have the ability to obliterate them? I mean, it sounds depressing, but that's the only way you can deal with these people, because otherwise, you know, freedom and democracy comes to your country, and let's say it has a very similar effect to radiation, so you might as well get nukes.
You can pre-bunk the radiation of democracy with a nuke.
Pretty much.
Pre-bunking being our new favorite European word. Why don't you tell us about this very angry woman with a big mouth?
Right. You know, like now, this was based on what the Democrats are trying to do in the U.S. now. Namely, they're trying to get Biden to resign, and then Kamala officially becomes the president because she is still the vice president. And then she could use
We talked about this with Hawkett. I'll leave a link. It just premiered recently. It's hilarious. But yeah, keep going.
And then she could use her newfound presidential powers, which are supposed to last not more than like a month at this point, less than 2 months at this point. If Biden resigns tomorrow, I guess. Which he's not going to do probably. Or, I mean, the people who run him are not going to do, because I don't think he makes any decisions. Anyway, I digress. The point is, they wanted to, like some Democrats are suggesting, Kamala to take Biden's place and then disrupt, you know, Trump's presidency. Now, if we remember what happened on January 6, 2021, there was this so-called January 6th insurrection, right? And at that time, it was called the next insurrection because Biden won fair and square. He won the election, right? But now the Trump one, this wouldn't be called an insurrection. Obviously, that's only reserved for the Republicans. This would be called a disruption. You know, this is how, you know, the U.S. and the Western countries operate, but especially these democratic, liberal, you know, institutions and organizations, they really
Make
love
Berlin
their narrative.
great
so they
again.
will always choose, very, very mild words, essentially, to describe what they're doing. So, invasions are not invasions; they're interventions, they're campaigns.
Regarding the disruption that you mentioned, I was flipping the news as one does, and I saw something about Trump disbanding the whole commission that did an inquiry into that event, and he's going to be having his own little commission have a look into what happened there. But yeah, that is unconfirmed.
I wonder how they're going to describe that. I wonder which euphemism they'll describe use to describe what Trump is doing in that case. So it's probably going to be interesting.
Look at these two guys.
Oh, yeah.
UK, France begging a lame duck Biden admin to escalate with Russia before Trump takes office. Are they, though? Are they really, or is it just the CIA? Blink.
Well, I think it's really the CIA, but when we say they're begging Biden, what I really mean is the Biden administration. In other words, the people that run the Biden administration. Of course, that's just the word Biden administration is just a title of the organization that runs the U.S. now. It's not. It doesn't mean that Biden is running anything. If it was 2013, I could have. We could argue that Biden is making some decisions, right? But in 2024, I doubt that's the case. Anyway, they were trying to convince, it was so hard to do it, obviously. They were trying to convince the U.S., the U.K. and France. They were trying to convince the U.S. to give the Kiev regime the permission to strike Russia with these long-range NATO-sourced weapons. And of course, as we know the results, this is already old news, but as we know the results, they did. And then they got the nuts from the sky, so.
The nuts from the sky. Apparently, Oresnik, the tree branches are used in Russia to whip children to teach them bad when they're bad. This is what I heard in the rumor mill in the comment section on YouTube. If you're Russian, let me know in the comments. Is this true? Also, apparently the incense of the Oresnik tree are used to burn and scare evil spirits away. So is this true? Also, note that the Oresnik, the vengeance of the Russian Federation, let's put it that way, which is generally orthodoxy, kind of leading, happened on the slava of Archangel Michael, being the guy who smit the devil. Also, the tool used on this day happens to have happened to have a name of rods from God, right? That's what these, because they're blanks, basically. They're like metal, pieces of metal, about 100, 150 kilos, 200 kilos maybe. And they're just kinetic energy, basically.
Yeah, but the point is the speed gives it so much kinetic energy that it actually will be dead weight to put any explosive on it, because if you really want to penetrate into an underground bunker, it would be best to just put a blank on it, and then if you accelerate a blank at Mach 20, it becomes
it's not a blank anymore.
A blank.
Yeah, even blanks are deadly if you take them at point range. You don't take a blank and put it to your head, because it'll take you out.
Of course. Speaking
of the administration change, this meme was sent in by a new member in chat, Joseph Starlin. Diversity hire. Still old white man. Sneak 100. This we saw. I always asked myself what Dennis would become when he grows up. This is for Mila from Nimakita chat. It's one of his from a long time ago. So, Oh, shall we get into the maps? Let's get into the maps, because let's see, where is the original map? There's the original map. Now, this is an article by the Mail Online, and it has this little map here that says, I don't know why they're aiming from here, because they can aim from anywhere. But in any case, Berlin, distance, arrival time, London, Brussels, Paris, Rome. And it says the bear strikes back in Obama's war. No comment. I mean,
as you said, like they could, like the numbers would be far worse if they took any like reality check when making these stupid maps. Like, I mean, you don't need to be an expert to realize you're not going to launch all missiles from Kapustin Yar. They're going to, launch them from wherever. And, as I said, they're also much faster than Mach 10. So, the numbers are just optimistic, like very optimistic if they think they'll have like this much time to evacuate.
I just realized I didn't have the other edited map saved. So let me see where that is. Right there. Come on, open it. There you go. All right, and Vex Perun from chat, who's going to be the star of today's show with his memes, sent this in. He's like, I fixed it up a bit. Have some bangers and mash, or shag and wank, your choice. Enough to realize that you didn't learn your lesson from the 80 years ago, and you're still fucking retarded. Brussels. Who are you kidding? You live in Belgium, and be glad it's over. Have a coffee and a croissant, and Emmanuel get pegged by his husband. Rome, hold on, I need to zoom in all the way here. Hope that Berlusconi was a really good friend and that they will spare you the smoke. Bend over and kiss your ass goodbye to Kiev. Yeah.
Oh man, this guy, Vex Perrin, damn, he's racist for saying all these bad things.
There's the original. Okay, my attempt at fixing the Hazelnut arrivals map. Yeah, he is racist. He's probably a Russian supremacist too.
And conspiracy theorist, I'm sure.
But he's very good at making memes.
Yeah.
He sent this one in along too. Russian hazelnut spread. A second helping of hazelnut. May contain nuclear payload, depending on FAFO. 150 kiloton entry per vehicle.
Oh man, this is fucking genius. Like, I didn't even see that.
I know.
One.
3 times 6. I think he needs to update it. It's actually 6 times 6. But
oh yeah. Actually, that's my fault. That's my fault. He actually wrote a message in my chat, and he said he updated it because of me. That it's 5 times 6. But this was my mistake, because when I wrote the article, I wrote on the same day. I managed to count only like 5 groups of these MERS. Yeah. But it was actually 6. So yeah.
He also revised it. Nukella. Not Nutella.
Nukella.
That's version 2.0.
This is like top notch, man. This is like genius.
I know. It is the evolution of memes right here. Memology 101. Check out the 100th episode as we approach the 200th episode. People, can you believe that shit? 200 fucking episodes. Leave a like. I want at least 200 likes on this video for 200 episodes. And then somebody sends this in chat. Well, actually, no, I found it somewhere else. Slavingrad stole the fucking meme. So, hi, Slavingrad. I see you're following us and you're a member of the chat. You can speak up in chat without stealing memes. But yeah, watching a meme evolve in chat and then stealing it. I mean, come on. Like, why would you not?
And
credit
he
it at least?
updated it, as I said, to 5 times 6, but I forgot to send you that one. So
It's all right. Anyway, calling out Slavingrad is always a good day here at the Working Brother. Becoming Russians. Jerry, subscriber of mine, mentioned him before. We'll have him on sooner or later. Find him on Telegram. Really interesting picture. A mural on a 9-story apartment building. I think this describes Russia, or how... Well, that's how I felt when I went to Russia. I was there a while ago. I should go back. Anyway...
we all should.
Yeah. Where's my thing? Go to Russia before Russia visits you.
Yep.
Do we have any sanctions are working?
Will start falling.
Do we have any sanctions are working today?
Oh yeah.
Let's see, where are the articles? There we go. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more articles, and we're already 45 minutes in. I don't think we'll fit all of them, but we'll try.
Oh yeah.
North Korean heavy artillery in Russian service confirmed. Confirmed is the only word I have doubts about here.
Yeah, I mean, it was confirmed, and I think it's, I think this is something that most of us expected, because the North Koreans were helping the Russians integrate some missiles and, and some of these like rockets and artillery in general. So, if they're giving them, I mean, if the Russians are getting missiles and rockets from North Korea, I don't think, a howitzer is going to be groundbreaking. But the point is, the North Koreans have so much of these artillery munitions and artillery platforms that why wouldn't the Russians, just take them? And I mean, this is kind of a strange for the Russians, because they have either 152.4 millimeters, or they have like over 200, like 203 or 240 in case of the Tulpen mortar. So the point is, the Russians are getting this because it falls somewhere between heavy artillery and super heavy artillery that they have. So I guess, this system can be very useful because of its range, and also it's useful for the North Koreans because the Russians, by using these systems in actual combat, they can improve them, and then they can share this experience with the North Koreans, just like they did with the Iranians, with the Garanian and 1 and 2 drones, which then were used to improve the Iranian Shahed 131 and 136, if I'm not mistaken. So, I think, this is a good deal for both sides, because both of them get something.
I'm going to make an executive decision 47 minutes in, and I'm going to call it. We're going to do another recording, because if we try and do the other things, and we're not going to do them justice by running them by quick, it's going to be a shame. And we've got some good topics coming up. Anything you want to pop up before we call this a recording?
Well, I suggest people try some Oresniks while they can. For the next 2 months is going to be pretty. It's going to be pretty risky. So try Oresniks.
Get yourself some Hazel. Check out the Hazelnut spread with extra kilotons of, depending on FAFO. The payloads may vary depending on your region. Everyone, thank you for sticking around. Like, share, subscribe. You know what to do. Catch you later. Peace.